Hey, what is going on, Toontown community and Toontown offline fans? It is John here, also known as BD Pinkermash, Sparky, and John L5 on the subreddit and everywhere else. So today this is going to be basically talking about the Toontown Offline prologue and its release, and we'll basically be talking about Toontown Offline and what went into the prologue, what the future of offline is going to be, and we'll be acknowledging those who have helped make the prologue possible. So first thing I want to talk about was the release date. Now, the release date for Toontown Offline, as of making this video, it is June 30th. Now, the initial release date was supposed to actually be around June 21st, and even before that. The biggest issue preventing it from coming out June 21st, which was over a week ago, was a last-minute issue that we came up with. We had an issue where we couldn't compile the game. It would just fail because of our DNA system. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on the DNA itself, but we did use TTR's DNA system, which used an XML file format. This was specific to TTR and TT Offline. No one else really used this format except people who use the TTR source code. But we are no longer using the TTR. We are no longer using the TTR system because it was not working, and we were not able to get the game out by using it. So we changed the system to the open source lip-handed DNA loader. I had to completely overhaul the DNA loading since TTR's is very specific, and it took me around a week to manually convert the needed files and everything like that. But now the game as needed to be released is working with the new DNA system, and I have tested a compiled game and it works perfectly fine. So we are now using lip-handed DNA. So what does this mean? Well, one thing it means is that we're using less TTR code now. Now, I don't know specifically how much TTR minded us of using their code, but we're now using less of their code. And we're using open source libraries now that anybody can that are readily available to anybody. And I just gave the name of what exactly we're using lip-handed DNA. What this also means is it will be easy for us to make new content in the future because we'll be able to use the Toontown level editor and basically just throw that right in the game directly without translating it. What this also means and how this will benefit you guys is that the server now starts a lot faster. Anybody who played Toontown Offline before will know that the server took quite a bit of time to start. It would take like 30 seconds and even more depending on some computers to start. Now on my computer it takes less than 5 seconds. Now I don't know how long, now I can't say that it will be this fast for everybody. It might be slightly slower, but one thing that I can say is that it will start up much faster. Both the game and the server, you will notice a significant difference in load times with this new system. So this will benefit everybody, both us and you guys. So that's why the update has been delayed for over a week, because we had to spend time switching out the DNA systems, making sure that everything worked as it should and that there were no crashes and that everything was properly moved over between the old DNA and the new DNA. But I'm confident that everything should be working properly for this release in regards to DNA. I did a lot of testing myself, and I'm also going to have some of the rest of the staff do some testing before we release it. So what else do we have to touch upon? We also have to touch upon the prologue update itself. Now, the prologue update itself is basically, from what you guys have seen in the screenshots, the prologue itself is meant to be, Toontown, before, usually where the game would start off before you're introduced to the cogs and everything like that. The prologue is supposed to start, similar to the original Toontown installer video, the story of Gyro, Gearloose, and Scrooge McDuck and how Scrooge activated the cogs. The prologue is basically a version of that in-game, and we try to keep it as true to the installer movie as possible. And yeah, if you want to talk about this, you can.
Alright, so hi, I'm Ben, or Rocky, or whatever you want to call me. And I pretty much come up with the prologue updates. I'm like, I guess you could call the lead creative design for Offline. Yeah, but John gave a pretty nice explanation there. Basically, the prologue, we tried to keep canon to both Toontown Online, their little video, and Toontown Rewritten. There will be some election references in the prologue, because of course, during the prologue, when, Scrooge goes in, makes the cogs happen, and all that good stuff. Oh, you're going. Pretty much what happens is that the elections are happening at the exact same time, so there are little references there. Yeah, I just tried to make it canon as possible. what was going to happen, and you probably saw as we were, walking around in the sewer here, that was a part of the original update, which I'll talk about in a minute. But ever since, I believe, the end of March, beginning of April, is when we've been working on this prologue. The main modeler for this has really been super tricky. He's done most of the models. He did the lab model. Another thing about models we want to talk about just really quick is the lab model. The lab model is pretty much the Resistance Hall model from Toontown Infinite, and there's two people to credit here, and I'm going to go clear up a little bit of confusion. So, the model was originally made for Toontown Infinite, but that is now closed, so I thought, this would be great for a lab model. Now, who created this? Well, originally the base was created by Joshua. He modeled it, and Jack, aka Odie, he was going to extend upon that, make the top bits, etc., but he found that Joshua did not do quite the best of jobs he could have in making the base, so Odie decided to redo the entire thing by himself, meaning he pretty much made the entire model. He just based the base off of what Joshua had, but in all, it's Odie's model. As for the textures, Piplup did an amazing job with the textures. We asked Piplup, I did personally on Twitter, hey, can we use these? We're going to have an alter variation. Piplup said, sure, that's no problem as long as we credit Piplup, so hey, shout out for doing those textures. Thanks for letting us use them. But hopefully that clears up any questions about the Resistance Hall. We have all permissions to use them. But anything else in the prologue or the other update we have planned after, which actually after I end this part, if you want to get into that, John, I think I'm done talking about the prologue. We are going to use a lot of assets from all sorts of other Toontown servers and projects, all of them with permission. But don't be scared because we have a lot of assets ourselves that we have. Great thanks to our content creators, Fortgrave, Odie. I think Bethy's gonna do some stuff with us soon. Of course, Super Tricky. We have a bunch of other friends too, so keep on the lookout for that. But do you want to get into some of the other stuff, John?
Well, basically, in terms of the prologue, there's not much more to talk about. One last thing I wanted to really say about the prologue is, as you saw in some of our teaser screenshots, we are using some ideas that weren't in the installer video, such as the money bin from DuckTales, which is part of Scrooge McDuck. So that's kind of where he stays at the beginning, is the money bin. So we thought that would be a good, thought that would be something nice to add in for detail, was the money bin. The money bin music, which was made by, I don't know what his
Toontown musician. I can look for his name in a second
musician,
here.
Yeah, we posted that on the subreddit too, and he made the music, which honestly I think is really, really good for the money bin. So shout out to him for that. But yeah, in terms of the prologue, there's not much more to.
Anton. It was Anton who made the music. Yeah. Sorry.
But in terms of the prologue itself, there's not much more to say for the prologue. One thing that I want to just touch upon very quickly, and then we'll get into more stuff about offline. As most of you know, the original creator of Toontown Offline, Logano, he stuck around for Toontown Offline for quite some time after I was given the role of lead developer back last year. But recently, while we were working on this update to bring out to you guys, Logan did contribute one or two things. He contributed to the events page on the sticker book, which was unimplemented, and now it's partially implemented. It'll be finished eventually, but he did the base work for that, which is really nice. And amongst creating the game initially. He is no longer on the team. I think a month or two ago, he kind of just stepped off the team due to, I'm going to say, personal reasons. I never figured out the exact reason. Well, I did figure out the exact reason, but it's probably not anything that needs to be mentioned here. But yeah, he stepped off the team, so he is no longer on the team. But it hasn't really affected Offline specifically because, as time went on, he really did contribute less. I mean, he stuck around, and he was great to talk to, but he really did contribute to the project less and less over time. That's kind of why I ended up becoming lead developer. But for all of you, those of you who are wondering, why Logan suddenly just disappeared, that's mainly the reason why. It's just because he just stepped off the team, and he is no longer part of the Toontown community, as far as I know. If he ever does come back, we'll let you know. But as of this point in time, he is no longer part of the team. But what else is there to talk about? Oh yeah, the future of Offline beyond this update. So the prologue update is actually compared to what else we have planned, the prologue's actually a minor update. Now, there's going to be one or two more major updates in the future, and probably more after that. But what we have planned at the moment, I'm not really sure how much I should talk about, but we do have an update that we're going to be working on right after this. Is going to probably take a few months to finish. Like, it probably won't be done until, like, you know, late this year or early next year. Like, it's going to be a pretty big update, and depending on how fast we work, it might take a while to finish that particular update, which is why the prologue is going to be coming out to kind of hold you guys over. There's more than just the prologue. There's also more in-game content, such as gardens are fully functioning now. Parties are 99% functioning. Most of the in-game content works. There's not much that's missing. I mean, there may be some bugs that I forgot about, but there will be bug fixes in between. We're not just going to release this and then just, you know, ignore until the next update. There will be bug fixes from bug reports submitted, and if there are any suggestions that are minor, I will add them and have incremental updates that are minor, just so that we can keep you guys occupied during over that time. It's not really going to be something like you have to wait a year for an update, because that's kind of, because there's a lot of stuff that can be done between that time. So there will be incremental updates with bug fixes and maybe small additions and stuff like that. But in terms of that, I'm not really sure what else to touch upon for what the future is.
As you saw at the beginning of the video, we were standing in the sewer area. Now, if you saw Lugano's video on that, because as some of you may or may not know, the project kind of disbanded for a few months back in December or January, but ever since March and April, we've been back together working on this avidly. But hopefully one of you, at least one, will notice the new cage model and some other little touch-ups we've been doing. That is going to be in the larger updates. What you've seen in that video has been majorly improved, and there's been a lot more added since then. Finally, now that this prologue is out of the way, we can get on to, hopefully, one of the first huge new things of this update. I mean, we already have quite a few big things in this second update, but this is going to be like the largest thing yet, and I hope you're ready to do that, John.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to help you. Something else to add, just if you want naming of the updates, the whole couple updates we're doing all COG related overall, I believe that's named COG Gear.
That was the original name. Like, the original idea of the update was going to be COG Gear.
Yeah.
The latest version of the game prior to the prologue was the COG Gear public beta, I think beta 2. But we also, there's also, I think, other names that we're referring to these events as other than COG Gear, because COG Gear is the name for the update as a whole, but like the prologue is the name for this event, and then I think like the next like big update is going to have its own name too.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that just a tiny bit here. Both updates combined, the prologue update and the next one, are called beginnings and ends, because the prologue is the beginning of the game, next update, I already pretty much said this in a Reddit post, so I'm not like saying anything new here, is the end of the game. Does that mean the end of content for offline or just in general? No, but it just means the end of the game. We're just going to have to wait to see what that exactly means. But again, our storyline is revolved around TTO/TTR. We do try to keep canon to them, whatever Joey's thinking in his head, whether we match what he was exactly thinking or not. We're going to try to keep it canon to what everyone, to the public, knows at the moment. You will see some of that reflect in the prologue, whether you want to keep that in your head, oh, this is storyline related or not. I'm a really storyline oriented guy. I'm a fanatic of TTR's storyline. That's why Toontown all fun. It's all storyline related stuff and naming stuff. But yeah, your field office just revived. Yeah, so do you have anything else to go in, John, or should I look at my list of stuff?
I mean, in terms of what I have to say, there's not much more that I have to really say. If there's anything else that you have to touch on.
I do want to say that we've been working on this update for 1 year now. To this month, and it's about to turn July. It's been 1 year. We're only a team of a couple people. Me, John, Sparkpin, Super Tricky, and Porkrave, and Odie's been on and off, and of course other people like Toontown Musician. Bethy might be adding a little bit of stuff, and some other people. I'm sorry if I forget you, but yeah, we've just been working on this on and off for a while, and we hope you guys really appreciate the prologue. Because yeah, it actually took us 2 months to come up with, but on and off again. Between when we were working on it and everything, we just want we're glad that something is being put out to the public, because all of us have worked on projects before in the past. Like, I don't know, you've ever heard Toontown Origins or Toontown Universe, Toontown Expedition, all these little mini projects. We've all worked on those as friends before. We've never had content actually go out to the public before. This is our first time as a big group of friends putting out new, finished, complete content. We hope you guys really enjoy it. I know John's worked so hard on it, especially with revamping the DNA last week. We've all worked very hard on it. Just wait until the end of this year or beginning of next year. And I think we're going to have a really nice update for you guys to hopefully wrap up the game. That's all I have to say.
So, I think that pretty much wraps up for this quick, well, not quick, but, very informative update video on the Save Toontown Offline. And we hope that you guys enjoy the prologue update. If you have any comments or suggestions or anything for the prologue when it releases, feel free to let us know on Reddit, comment, make a video. Feel free to make a video of the prologue. We actually encourage that people, spread the word of the prologue just to get, just to see, what people think of offline, and maybe get people back in offline since it's been kind of quiet for the past year and a half. But yeah, that's basically it, and we'll see you guys later with more updates that we might have, because there'll be quite a bit of updates between now and the next major update, just because I imagine that there'll be a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed, which is where you guys are going to come in, because to do a lot of this, break the game, because there's only so much stuff that we can figure out on our own. But so yeah, I basically have things to say, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Yeah, peace out.
See ya.